Ladies and gentlemen, as of July 28th, 2025, Treylon Burks, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, has been released. Now, if you didn't know, Treylon Burks did suffer from a season-ending injury, likely putting him on injury reserve, of course, to have surgery to repair the injury. I believe it was a collarbone injury. Yes, so Treylon Burks suffered a fractured collarbone, leaving him unable to play in the 2025-2026 campaign, essentially forcing the Tennessee Titans to take a step back, reevaluate, which ultimately they released Treylon Burks. Now, if you have been living under a rock or are not a fan of the National Football League, football in general, then you may not be aware that this is very much consequential to the Titans' future, considering that they took a huge investment into Treylon Burks and his player stock. So much of an investment that they traded away at the time what was tied to be one of the future greats as far as like wide receivers go in AJ Brown. Now, respectfully, I did maybe overemphasize greatness at the time because AJ Brown in 2022 was deemed as somewhat of an injury-prone receiver himself, but was very talented. As far as the Titans and their receiver corps go, he might have been the best receiver in a long time, considering that Tennessee was not known for a team to put the ball in the air. They were always a ground and pound team. You look at Derrick Henry's of the world, Chris Johnson, everything in between, right? So they traded with AJ Brown. I believe there was a consensus about money, not wanting to re-sign him, not seeing that value. Humbly disagreed then, still disagree now. But let's talk about the details of this trade specifically, right? Because not only did the Titans trade AJ Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2022, this is the bundle received. Now, the Tennessee Titans received the number 18 pick for wide receiver Treylon Burks. Of course, we acknowledge that. 2022 third round pick, which was traded to the Jets. All this good stuff. But essentially materialized into Roger McCreary, Nicholas Petit-Frere, I can never understand to say his name, and he plays for my favorite team, and then Kyle Phillips, wide receiver. All right. So, firstly, let's look at essentially what panned out for all of these picks. We'll start with Roger McCreary, right? Roger McCreary, I want to start with him because he is probably the most valuable asset to come out of the entire trade for the Tennessee Titans. Look at some of his stats here. For his career, he has 175 solo tackles, 220 total tackles, essentially. If you add those are the assisted ones. Played about 47 games, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 interceptions, averaging about 11 yards apiece. Now, here's the thing. Roger McCreary's best season, I mean, it's up for debate, but I guess it's not. 2023 campaign where he had 86 total tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception for 18 yards. Yeah, by far his best season there. This past season, 2024 campaign, only 50 total tackles, 1 sack, no recorded interceptions. That's something to think about, right? Okay, so nonetheless, though, Tennessee has consistently struggled with their cornerback play over the past years, whether that's them, of course, with health or, just putting those guys up there in good coverage situations. But that's Roger McCreary, again, the longest tenured Titan now as of that trade. Oh, Nicholas Petit. All right. So we look at Big Nick now. All right. It's difficult when it comes to linemen to gauge like stats and the value of that. So I was able to go to PFF.com, found a couple things. Firstly, the overall grade of 2024. We're looking at ranking, linemen, specifically tackles. We're looking at 122nd out of 140 for his overall grade. His pass block grade, same thing, 42.8 at 122nd out of 140 at the position, right? Run block grade, still in that bottom half, and then the snap count was above, like, you know what I'm saying? That's well higher than 50%. Well, not well higher, but it's more than 50%. So he's getting snaps. Season stats, it's difficult again to kind of understand that, but just considering, look at this, 121st in penalties, 138th in sacks allowed. Now, again, this is on a scale of 140. 131st in total pressures allowed, and 109th in hits allowed. So, albeit we clown Will Levis, this is essentially who was protecting Will Levis all season. But again, we just want to make that a point, case in point. Not currently on the Titans, as you can see, he's a 49er now, but important to note that he would have been the second longest, or I guess Treylon Burks would have been there too. All right, then we have wide receiver Kyle Phillips. All right, Kyle Phillips, drafted round 5, pick number 163rd. So, not a ton of I guess the expectation for Kyle Phillips wasn't insane, right? But nonetheless, in his playing career with the Titans, he played 13 games, 23 receptions, 35 targets, 259 yards on an average of 11.3. Nothing crazy, not too good, right? If I'm not mistaken, they say he's playing with the Las Vegas Raiders right now, but he did not play a snap from my records of 2024. So it's almost like borderline out of the league with Kyle Phillips, right? Let's go ahead and talk Treylon Burks, the player that was drafted to replace AJ Brown. Now, before I go into this, AJ Brown was touted to be an outstanding prospect out of Arkansas, right? He was that guy in Arkansas. So he comes into Tennessee. He's supposed to be a replacement, similar stature and play style, so it seemed, to an AJ Brown that they were replacing in Tennessee. His total stats, 53 receptions, 92 targets, 699 yards on 13.2 average, only 1 touchdown in 3 years of Tennessee. He basically missed the 2024 campaign dealing with injury. And considering that the season's 16-17 games a season, only played 11 per season between 2022 and 2023. Best season by far, his rookie campaign, 444 yards, and that's where he had the 1 touchdown log. Must note that, again, not playing a ton because of injuries, but even while on the field was not the most productive player by any means. Just want to point this out, that Treylon Burks, 2022 first round pick, he was a first round pick number 18. Let's look at somebody similar to him. Let's take Jahan Dotson, for instance, who right now is wide receiver number 3 in Philadelphia of all places, right? Drafted 2 picks ahead of Treylon Burks. So, it wasn't the Titans' fault they didn't obtain him, by any means, right? But in his first 3 seasons, look at this. On the field, 1,257 yards, okay? We're comparing that to Treylon Burks, who best year, 444 yards. This man's rookie season, 523 with 7 touchdowns. 518 with 4 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? This right here is a similar amount of games played. You know what I'm saying? Targets, he only had 7 more targets.
6, 7, I just been right on the highway.
He only had 7 more targets, right? Now he's in Philadelphia. I'm not saying by any means that I believe that Jahan Dotson is going to be this outstanding, wideout for the squad, but the fact that this is wide receiver 3 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Treylon Burks was supposed to be wide receiver 1 for the Tennessee Titans. Nonetheless, let's look at AJ Brown's stats. All right, obviously, 2019 to 2021, he was a Tennessee Titan. 2021 was the last time the Tennessee Titans were in the playoffs, okay? In the one playoff game that AJ was in for us, I believe he was our receiving leader. Let's just double check that knowledge because I had this pulled up. Yeah, 2021 postseason. AJ Brown, 142 yards because, again, they played 1 game that season against the Cincinnati Bengals. 9 targets, 142 yards, 28.4 average yards per carry or per attempt. A touchdown, of course, longest being for 41. Okay, so again, the 2022 offseason comes around and we say whether it's money or we say that, injuries, whatever it may be. We trade him to the Philadelphia Eagles and he immediately goes out and gets 1,496 yards on 11 touchdowns. Okay, mind you, in Tennessee, he already had 2 1,000-yard campaigns. The only reason he was shy of this one is obviously health. Just this past season, he still captures 1,000 yards, all on a shorter, frame of games to go off of. Okay, 7 touchdowns, but more importantly, let me just get a Super Bowl ring. You get what I'm saying? So AJ Brown then turns this 3-year stint into a Super Bowl championship for the Philadelphia Eagles. What have the Titans had to show for since then, you may ask? Oh, sure, why not? Our receiving yards leader was Calvin Ridley at 1,000 yards, no playoff appearance. 2023, regular season leader, DeAndre Hopkins. Where's DeAndre Hopkins? Not on the team. Played 17 total games. 2022 regular season, the following season, our leading receiver was Robert Woods with 527 receiving yards on the season. Think about that for a second. The receiving leader for the Tennessee Titans, 527 receiving yards, bro. That is insane. That is insane. That AJ Brown went and put up these numbers and took his team, helped his team to a Super Bowl, right? I want you to go back though and reference this trade really quickly, okay? What do you see? Right? One player traded away, went on to get a championship. Titans got a package of stuff. This is almost the desired trade here. The goal for the Clippers was to have Paul George be their AJ Brown. And they were going to then have the Thunder take on all these assets, and the Thunder were just going to be rebuilding, right? In this scenario, completely different sport, by the way, Shade, which I guess in this scenario would also be the equivalent to Treylon Burks, went on to get a championship. Okay? They turn all these assets into more valuable pieces that can help to the team succeed. The Titans arguably put on the worst trade in recent history, and there could be an argument for worst trade of all time. They have not been back to the playoffs since then. The Philadelphia Eagles have went on to win a Super Bowl and are touted to go on to win another one by every metric. They are still the best team in football, in my personal opinion. Okay, the writing is not on the wall for this Tennessee Titans team to succeed in the foreseeable future. When you literally flipped your assets and turned them into a draft bust, I would honestly say 2 draft busts. You could really say 3, and then we have 4. This is insane. Okay, I just wanted to present that these are 2 of the worst trades in their respective sports. Both of them similar results, but just kind of for different reasons, of course. And I wanted to bring that up to say that the Titans have officially fumbled, okay, a generation's worth of talent. The Eagles, I'm happy for their success and everything like that, but if you could just please educate us on how you're able to fleece organizations and how you're able to pull this off. Honestly, this was all just a rant. There wasn't a ton of context for me to add, but I wanted to talk about the details of the trade more because Treylon Burks is no longer a Tennessee Titan, closing the door on this window of history. This turned into an absolute disaster for the Titans, turned to an absolute gem for the Eagles. Shout out to them. I'm hoping we could bounce back as a Titans fan realistically from the results of this trade. I think after the release of Treylon Burks, the Tennessee Titans did sign, I think, a former Tennessee Vols player to replace an injured Treylon Burks. The Titans have won and got another SEC wide receiver in Ramel Keaton. So he's now on the team. You know, hopefully that can turn into something. He was talented in Tennessee, but again, just unsure and unclear. But yeah, that'll do it for me today. Thank y'all all so much. Looks like my chair was over here sinking. It's been an absolute pleasure. Please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Leave some suggestions down below which you want to see next. That'll wrap it up for me today. Other than that, we're on the road to 250 subscribers. And without further ado, don't let anyone discourage you from greatness and make the right decisions in the offseason. My name is Osoko.
Fly, Eagles, fly!